Aloha and welcome to Adobe Premiere. In this first video, we're just going to do a quick overview of the interface and getting started. We won't really get into any editing until the next piece. One thing you are going to need if you're working in my facility, and even if you're not, it's just a good idea, is an external drive to keep all of your media on. Now, again, if you're working in the lab, there's one just like this, and you can see I've thoughtfully scratched my name on the top so it doesn't get confused with the others that look exactly like it. So this is what you'll be working with in the lab. If you've got something of your own and you'd rather use it, that's fine. I'm really partial to these little Samsung solid-state drives. They're pretty cool. But anyway, let's go ahead and plug that in and wait for the antivirus warning to pop up. There we go. We're not going to take any action. Okay, so let's go ahead and launch Premiere. So either down here in the dock, there should be an icon for Adobe Premiere. You can also get to it if you click on in the very top right-hand corner of your screen, there should be a Creative Cloud logo. And if you click on that, you can pick any of the Adobe apps that you want. And here is Premiere Pro. We're just going to hit Open. A couple of things might happen. One thing that might happen is that you get a pop-up screen asking you to sign in to an Adobe account. If that does happen, you can either use your own personalized Adobe account, or you can use the ones that we provide for you. And again, if you're in the lab, there's a series of logins taped to the screen of each computer. So go ahead and get past that. Now, what you'll see here is the opening screen, the loading screen for Adobe Premiere. And I've got some options over here. I can create a new project. I can open a project. Got some other abilities over here that really don't relate to this class very much. And if I have worked on something recently on the same hard drive, I'll see it pop up here. So this file Heart1 is actually something I was editing earlier in the week, and it remembers. For the moment, I'm not going to open that. We're just going to move on to a new project. So I'm going to click New Project. And it's going to ask me a couple of important things here. It's going to ask me the name. I am going to call this Class Demo, since that's what I'm doing. And it's going to ask me where I want to save it. And in this case, I am going to change it. I'm going to go to the Browse. I want to go to my Samsung Red. And I'm actually going to make a new folder and call it Class Demo as well. And that's where my new project is going to appear. I'll click the Choose button. Make sure that when you set this up, you steer it to your external drive. You do not want to save anything on the actual computer itself. Oh, and look, I can't spell class. Let me go ahead and fix that real quick. Class Demo. There are a lot of other settings here that we could play with, but for now, let's just ignore them. Make sure you've given it a name that's meaningful to you. Make sure you've pointed it at your external device, your external hard drive, and click OK. And here we have the basic Premiere interface. Now, right now, it's an empty project, so there's not a whole lot to look at, but the basic layout we'll go over quickly. I want to start by pointing out at the top center of the screen here, you've got a series of options: learning, assembly, editing, color, effects, etc. These are different workspace layouts. So if I go to the Learning tab, you'll see that not only does it redesign the screen, it pops up with access to some tutorials over here. If I go to the Assembly option, again, it redesigns the screen. Some things got larger, some things got smaller, some things disappeared, some things appeared. Likewise, when I go to the Editing workspace, the Color workspace, the Effects workspace, the Audio workspace, the Graphics workspace. We will spend time in some of these, and we will not spend time in some of these. Most of what I do and most of what we will cover in the class will happen in this editing interface. When we get to the section on color correction, we'll use the color interface. When we get to the section on graphics, we'll use the graphics interface. You get the idea. Now, these interfaces, these different workspaces, have got predefined areas, but we are not stuck with those predefined areas. So I have these two large windows at the top, and then I have four smaller windows across the bottom. So this relatively sizable one in the bottom left-hand corner, this skinny one here that has my toolbar, the timeline, and then these audio meters over here. And you'll notice that wherever there's a dividing line between these guys, I can resize stuff. You can see the little change. So if I click and drag here, right, I can make one of these windows bigger than the other. I can do the same thing moving up and down. So I can resize this a number of ways. And it gets even better than that. Notice that these windows here on the left-hand side, both the large one at the top and the smaller one at the bottom, have got tabs across the top. So here I'm looking at my project. I can tab over to the media browser. I can tab over to look at libraries. Each of these tabs gives me different information inside the window itself. And the same thing in this window. All of these areas can have tabs. Now, right now, this large program window does not have any tabs, or perhaps you want to choose to look at it as it only having one tab. Right now, the timeline doesn't have any tabs, or again, you could look at it as the fact that it is one tab. This will change as we move along. We can add tabs to these things. So there's a lot of information that you can play with here. If you get confused, if you've clicked and dragged and things don't look the way you want to, we can reset. But let's make it worse before we make it better. If I go up here into the window menu, and when I open that up, you'll see that some of these things have check marks beside them. So in this interface, in the editing workspace, the clip audio mixer, the audio meters, effect controls, effects, everything that is clicked, everything that has a check mark appears on the screen, right? So libraries has a check mark. Down here in the bottom left-hand corner, I can see there is a tab for libraries. Tools has a check mark. Okay, this is the tools. It's not labeled, but that skinny column there with all the tools in it is the tools. So I can actually turn things on and off here. So if I wanted to, for example, add my Lumetri scopes, I just turn that on. Doesn't look very impressive right now, but that's okay. I can turn them off this way. Right. So if I click on a tab, you see the little 3 lines beside it. That's a way to open a menu, and I could close that particular tab, that particular panel, and get rid of it. Now if I want to get it back, I can go to the window menu and get it back that way. It gets even better. Any one of these tabs I can pull away from where it is and move it somewhere else on the screen. So I could take my Lumetri scopes, for example, and click and drag that, and I can move it over here into the same window as the program. So now I can go back and forth between my program window and my Lumetri scopes window. Notice that as I click and drag it, this weird kind of interface happens where right now I'm in the middle. There's a large rectangle in the middle, but there's also one on the top, bottom, left, and right. So I could come over here to the left, or to the bottom, or to the right, or to the top. So I'm going to put it over here on the one on the left. And notice what it did. It took that pane and it split it. So now I've actually got these two guys on the screen at the same time. So I can really customize the screen to get to whatever it is I want to see at the moment. But maybe now I have messed it up beyond all usefulness and I want to get back to the way it was originally. I can do that too. Go back into the window menu, highlight the workspaces choice at the top, and go down here to where it says Reset to saved layout. Now, before I do that, let me point out real quickly, I could save this as a new workspace as well. So if I have a customized layout that I really like and I use often, I can set it up once, I can save it, and then it will appear as an option here on my workspaces list, this is the same list, right? Assembly, audio, as things that appear up here, plus a few. But I'm going to reset this. So I'm going to hit the reset to saved layout. And we're back to where we belong. Notice that as I click in any of these large windows, or even the small ones, a blue outline appears around it. This tells me which window is active at the moment. This is important for several different operations. Many times, the options that you have in a menu will change based on what's highlighted. So as we move through this, pay attention to how the screen is actually configured. Make sure you pay attention to which portion of the screen is active, as indicated by the blue line around it. If you're in a window that has tabs, make sure you pay attention to which tab is active. And that's indicated by the, it's a brighter white and it's underlined as well. You can open new tabs by using the window menu. You can close tabs by clicking on the little menu icon beside the tab name, close panel. You can rearrange these things by clicking and dragging. All right, so if I want to bring my media browser to a different window, or now I've set it up as its own window, it'll stay open here in between my preview and my program. And again, to unmess it, window menu, workspaces, reset to saved layout. All right. For our next lesson, I'm going to show you how to get stuff into Premiere and start working with it.